Thank you guys, mind yourself,
No, sit down. It's not sit down.
Give you full instructions. The captain is located at the back of the boat on the upper deck. In order to keep their view of the river clear, please remain seated throughout the journey.
My name is Ben and I'll be your tour guide today. Welcome on board, everyone. Also joining me on board today we have my fantastic colleagues. We have Josh and we also have Paul. Now they will be around the boat today to answer any questions that you may have, whether that you needing directing to the bar, the toilet, or just have any other questions. Feel free to ask those and they will be more than happy to help you out today. And we have just had a very short safety announcement. Now, if you did miss any of it, not to worry. I will be repeating the most important part, and that is for all of you on the upper deck today. Please do just make sure to remain seated for me whilst taking your photos and videos. This is for two reasons. Firstly, we don't want you falling off because, well, quite frankly, I don't fancy getting my Baywatch on. And secondly, so our captains can see what they're doing at all times, as they are located behind you in the wheelhouse. But now on with the tour. On the right hand side here we have the Palace of Westminster, or more commonly known as our Houses of Parliament. Now in the early 1800s, 2 cartloads of wooden tallied sticks were brought in here to be burnt in underfloor furnaces. Now this caused a huge fire, burning majority of Parliament to the ground. And how did the people of London help? Well, they didn't. They stood on the other side of the river and they chanted, "Burn, Parliament, burn!" And one man actually got arrested for excessive chanting. Also, just outside of Parliament, you'll see 2 different coloured awnings. You'll see red and you'll see green. Now, red stands for the Lords and green for the Commons. This colour coding goes throughout the rest of Parliament as well, where inside they have different bars, cafes and even toilets. Now, this is all to keep them separated and to stop corruption. I'll say no more on that. But the 2 bridges either side of us. On your right here, we have Lambeth Bridge, which is slightly painted red. And to your left, Westminster Bridge, entirely painted green. So make some noise, get your waves. Hello, Westminster Bridge! Hello! Hello, hello. Lovely stuff. Now, I'm just going to head towards the back. But I will still be around if you have any questions. But yeah, I'll just be behind you all now. But now on the right hand side we have my employer, the London Eye. Now this is the tallest cantilevered observation wheel in the world, standing at 135 metres tall. Cantilevered means it is supported on just the one side. Observation, meaning the pods are on the outside and not the inside. Of course, making it a cantilevered observation wheel, and not a Ferris wheel. You may also notice that there are 32 pods on this wheel, and that is 1 pod for every borough here in London. However, if you were to go on the London Eye and you found yourself on a pod number 33, do not be alarmed, I did not lie to you. Pod number 13 was actually removed for all our superstitious guests. A lot of people actually refused to get on a pod number 13 and go 135 metres above the Thames in it. Then who can blame them? But the London Eye was originally built to be entered into a competition. Now this competition was to find a new landmark to celebrate the millennium here in London. Right, the London Eye came in 2nd place. Yeah, we came 2nd. However, British Airways, they liked this design so much that they funded to keep it. They spent £75 million and they made that money back in just 2 years' time. If you're wondering how they managed to do that, well, you've all seen the state of the ticket prices. That's exactly how. But now for our next bridges here, in the middle we have the Hungerford Railway Bridge, and either side are the 2 Golden Jubilee bridges, built in 2002 to celebrate our late Queen's Golden Jubilee. Now the bridge we just passed underneath here, we have Waterloo Bridge, and this is the longest bridge out of all the bridges here in central London. And it also gets the nickname of the Ladies' Bridge. That is because whilst the men were away fighting in World War II, while the ladies, they were tasked upon to build this bridge. Now, this bridge was continuously being bombed in the Blitz. However, to this day, it is still the only bridge here in London to be built on time and under budget. Are we surprised? Of course not. Well done, ladies. And just behind you on your right here, a very ugly building with an electronic ball on top. Now this is our National Theatre. Built in the brutalist style of architecture, and our King Charles said that it looks like the back end of a nuclear power station. However, do not be fooled by its ugly outer. Inside there are 3 beautiful theatres. The largest one being the Olivier Theatre, which was named after its first artistic director, Sir Laurence Olivier. for the most shocking part of today's tour. More shocking than finding out that Big Ben is not actually called Big Ben. Coming up on your right hand side here, we have London's very own beach! Ta-da! Yes, this is Ernie's Beach. Named after a man named Ernie, who did 50 years of charity work here in London, trying to create affordable housing here on the South Bank. And therefore he was rewarded with his very own beach. And on sunny days you will see people sunbathing on here and even building sandcastles with whatever sand they could find. And just next to Ernie's Beach we have a large red brick building with a tower on top that, well, totally does not say OXO. Yes, this is the OXO building, once owned by the Stock Cube company here in the UK, OXO. Now, the reason I say this totally does not say OXO is because, well, legally it doesn't. As when this was built, skyline advertising was in fact illegal due to us currently sailing on a royal highway. So of course, they were taken to court for this. However, they hired a very clever lawyer. Now, this very clever lawyer simply said to the judge, no, this does not spell our company name. We just ordered 3 random geometrical shaped windows, put them up in a completely random order, and it just happened to spell our company name. What are you talking about? Do you believe them? No, of course not. However, the judge did. And later on, this judge was actually laughed out of his courtroom, and he became known as a laughing stock. Laughing stock? Stock cubes? Okay. Well, the jokes don't get any better, so it's going to be a long tour. Toys that we love to nickname a lot of different things here in London, especially our skyscrapers. So some of the nicknames that this one has been given are the Boomerang, the Baby Bump, the Cocktail Shaker, or my personal favourite, the Kim Kardashian. I'm sure you can all guess why. Now, this is a recreation of Sir Francis Drake's The Golden Hind. Now, Sir Francis Drake was the first Englishman to accidentally circumnavigate the globe. Now, when Sir Francis Drake set off from Plymouth to go steal gold from Spanish ships leaving South America, he didn't fancy face them again. So instead, he just went in a straight line all the way around the world till he made it back to the UK. And how did we punish him for his piracy? Well, we didn't. He actually gathered so much gold he could pay off the UK's foreign debts 3 times over. And Queen Elizabeth I actually gave him a knighthood for his efforts. And if you take a look to your left once again between these buildings, you'll see the monument in all its glory, where it shows you all the dates and the times that the bridge will be opening, so you can actually plan your days around it. Now, as we do pass on the Tower Bridge today, it is very important we do make some noise and try and get away from the people on Tower Bridge. As I said, if you receive a wave from Tower Bridge, you'll actually get 5 years of good luck. So, as we pass underneath, do make some noise and get your waves, getting 5 years of good luck. So some of the nicknames that we've given these skyscrapers are the pointy one you can see on your right. We have the Scalpel. Just behind it on the right is the Gherkin. On the left is the Scalpel, the one with the big crosses, triangles or diamonds. This one is the Cheese Grater. And the one closest to us, we have the Walkie Talkie. Now on top of the Walkie Talkie there is a Sky Garden, and this is free to enter. However, you do need to book your tickets in advance. But if you do fancy a cocktail or dinner with a view, I definitely recommend checking this one out. Also, I can only apologise for the current unpleasant smell. The boat in front of us is what's slowing us down, and it's just full of rubbish. So that's the nasty smell. But now the original London Bridge was built in 50 AD by the Romans, and this was a completely wooden bridge. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the fact that, well, London Bridge did have a tendency to, well, fall down. Now, the original London Bridge was built in 50 AD by the Romans, and this was a completely wooden bridge. But yes, the second more permanent medieval London Bridge was said it would take over half an hour to cross due to it having its own little city on top of it. Now this one burned down in the Great Fire of London, and then a third bridge was built, and for some reason the third bridge began to sink. So an American man by the name of Robert P. McCulloch, he bought this bridge for $2.5 million, where it was later sent off brick by brick to Arizona and reconstructed over Lake Havasu. So, yes, there are 2 London bridges in the world. There's one here in London, and one in Arizona. Now our next bridge coming up here, we have Millennium Bridge, and for any movie fans on board, you may recognise this bridge from movies such as Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, where Voldemort stepped into the attacked and destroyed this bridge. Or London Has Fallen, where it was attacked and destroyed. Or Guardians of the Galaxy, where it was attacked and destroyed. And we have no idea why Hollywood hates this bridge so much, but I promise you it has nothing to do with us at the London Eye. We are not that bitter about coming second. Yes, this bridge is what beat the London Eye in that competition I was speaking of earlier, hence its name, Millennium Bridge. Now, Millennium Bridge did have quite a shaky start to its career, as on its first day of opening, over 160,000 people crossed this bridge, where they all noticed a very severe wobble. Now, this wobble was so severe that many of them were throwing up over the sides, falling over, and many had to be rescued. And after just 3 days' time, this bridge closed down, closing for 2 whole years, and whilst it was closed for repairs, even NASA had to get involved to help repair it. Once it reopened, well, most of us just know it as the Wobbly Bridge now. Our next bridge here is Blackfriars Railway Station, the only railway station to span the entire width of the Thames. And you may notice its rather weird looking roof. That is because each one of those is actually a solar panel. So on a very sunny day here in London, this train is completely solar powered. On the other 364 days, well, it's not. Now for these mysterious red stone columns that I know you've all been so curious about. Now those mysterious red stone columns, they used to hold up St. Paul's Bridge, and this was the first bridge to bring steam trains over the Thames. Now as trains got bigger and heavier, well, this bridge started to crumble under the weight, so they built the 2 bridges that you see here today. Now when they came around to removing St. Paul's Bridge, they realised that those stone columns were so deeply embedded into the Thames, the only way to remove them was to use dynamite. And of course this would just destroy the brand new bridges they just built either side, so instead they just painted them red, called it a day, hoping nobody would notice. Also, the Thames is home to over 135 different types of marine life, where inside the Thames we have seahorses, seals, we've had sightings of dolphins and whales, and even sharks. Yes, we have seen 2 different types of sharks here in the Thames. The taupe shark, which can grow up to 6 feet in length, and also the spur dog, which is in fact venomous. So if all of that doesn't give you a reason not to go swimming in the Thames, I have no idea what will. on your right here with the green dome on the roof. Now this is Somerset House, and it used to be an old office that recorded all the births, marriages and deaths in London. And of course it has the nickname of the Hatcham, the Matcham and the Dispatcham building. But nowadays it is just home to many forms of famous art from many famous artists on the likes of Picasso, Monet and even Van Gogh. But now on your right hand side, the oldest thing you will see on today's tour, we have Cleopatra's Needle. Now this was actually a gift from Egypt after we helped them in the Battle of the Nile. I repeat, this one is a gift. Probably the only piece of Egyptology we have here in London that isn't stolen. The two sphinx you see at the bottom are actually supposed to be facing outwards, and this is to protect the needle from any danger. However, the Victorians, they didn't know this, so they're facing inwards, and it looks like they're having a nice little chat. Also, if you did take a look at the top of the needle, you'll see some hieroglyphics, and if you look very closely, just to the bottom where the black bit is, you'll see some hieroglyphics. Where's looking at all? But as we are coming towards the end of our tour today, guys, the toilets on board are now closed for cleaning. The closest ones will be in the London Eye ticket office once you depart, so don't bother paying for the ones along South Bank, it's not worth it. The ones in the ticket office are, of course, free to use. And when we do begin to dock up, please do just make sure to remain seated, there is no rush to get to the exit. Now, it gets the nickname of the Iceberg Building, because what you see on top is just the tip of the iceberg. Underneath are between 5 and 15 floors of nuclear bunkers, war rooms and tunnels that span all the way to Parliament, Downing Street and even Buckingham Palace. And in 1999, the Ministry of Defence actually took the London Eye to court. This is because they believed the spies would get on the London Eye, go all the way to the top and spy through their windows trying to gather top secret intel. Now, a genuine quote from the judge in that courtroom was, "You're literally the Ministry of Defence. Just buy some curtains." And they did, and the case was closed.